I'm Malcolm Roberts and I'm with Keith Gordon, the owner of this property here. We're about an hour, 90 k's out of Longreach. This is a wild dog fence. Keith, what's the purpose of this wild dog fence and what does it do to save lambs?
This fence has been erected to stop wild dogs entering our cluster area, which where in that cluster area we have sheep and cattle. These wild dogs in the past 2 or 3 years have come in and decimated our sheep herd. We've gone from probably about 4,000 during the drought down to we've had 480 sheep left after dogs had completely decimated our herd. This fence has now, in the last 2 years, we're now back up to 3,000 sheep, which we've got 84, 87 and 94% lambing. Before we were lucky to get a 25 to 40% lambing.
Gee, and these, one wild dog could kill how many lambs in one night?
One dog won't kill a lot of lambs. He might kill 20 to 30 lambs.
That's not a lot. That's a huge number.
Not when you've got a lot of lambs, but what they do is they normally come in early in the morning or late at night, and they will mismother more lambs than they kill. And you know, just on a percentage thing, if we had wild dogs in here, we had say 1,000 ewes, we're getting 80% lambing, so we've got 800 lambs on the ground. These things over a period of probably 20 to 30 days will kill about 400 lambs, either through...
Each wild dog?
Not each, probably 2 or 3, because they normally come in a pack. What they do is they work the herd, and if they come in, they'll kill... they normally do it at night time or early in the morning. Mm-hmm. And yeah, when we go to mark them, we'll be 400 lambs short.
Gee, how much is that worth?
Well, each lamb at the moment, well, if you take an average price of a sheep, you're looking at about $100 to $125 a head.
So that's a hell of a lot of money.
So, but not only that, they, you know, you're losing your wool production. Where in wool, if you're fat lambs, well, every female they kill with a fat lamb, that female lamb's not going to have another lamb, so you're losing probably 9 lambs over her life. So it's a really, really major expense on our enterprise.
And also, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but listening to other farmers, in areas where there were a lot of wild dogs, farmers will change from wool or sheep to cattle. And when you do that, you lose the added employment of shearing and all the other benefits that come from the wool industry. Is that right?
Correct. In our application, we went cattle in the 70s. We nearly went broke because we don't have the right country for cattle. Mm-hmm. So we're sort of lumped in with sheep. We can make more money with sheep. Before we put this fence up, I went back and revisited the cattle only option. We have cattle. It just, numbers didn't stack up. We couldn't run enough cattle to make it pay. So this thing cost us best part of $350,000 to erect, and we hope
that's you alone.
That was our cluster group.
Okay.
For us alone, it was $189,000, which is a big expense to put up. Even with paying that money to erect this fence, we hope to come out in the next 2 or 3 years' time. We hope to break even and be ahead with this fence.
So it makes you viable now.
Makes us very viable. The chappie on this side of the fence, he's not fenced, and he's struggling. He can't get his sheep numbers back because of these wild dogs, which is sad in a way because like it's a lot of good country. It's hurting the nation in exports. Mm-hmm. You know, we're not,
and the region.
We're not. You know, we're not exporting more wool. We're not exporting a lot of our sheep that we sell off here go as straight export. Mm-hmm. So you know, they're not there, that's Australia's losing money on it, really.
And there's a positive message here about government, because we know that government has cost farmers a lot of money and their livelihoods in places. But in this case, the governments, both state and federal, have actually helped contribute, haven't they?
This was the state government didn't have to go ahead with this program. They have, and it's going to help our local region a lot. It's going to actually bring viability back into the local economy.
Right, and the federal government's also helping.
The federal government, I think, have just started putting money in, which the more of these things we get up, the better the areas are. You can control your country, you can manage your country better. On the conservation side of it, we're not degrading our country all the time, because as soon as you try and save something, you get other animals come through, and whatever you're trying to save gets eaten. So we can actually, if you go to a cluster area and you look inside the cluster fence and then you look outside the cluster fence, normally you'll see a better vegetation cover inside the fence than what you do outside the fence.
And there's also the animal cruelty aspect, because of the sheep and the lambs being killed by these by wild dogs wantonly.
Well, it's not only that, but then you don't know what it's like to drive out and find 40 or 50 dead lambs sitting in a paddock. And with not all of them dead, you've got to go and destroy them.
And that's what I've noticed. Farmers, from what I've seen everywhere, are really concerned about whether it be cattle or sheep or whatever animal they're farming. They really get a close connection to them, and they care for them.
We do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, would we?
No.
But it also affects it affects the farm, but it affects the wife, the whole family unit gets disrupted with it. I had a daughter that lost her pet with a wild dog. That was not very nice. She didn't like that very much. But it's a good thing that the government's done this, allowed people that have been able to put these fences up with the cluster program. It's been a big help. The cluster program basically pays for the materials, so it's not 100% funded. The council have also come on board. Our local council have done a really, really good thing by accessing money that's allowed other people that didn't fit the cluster criteria to put up a fence. So I'm you look at the pre-fence days to the post-fence days, it's chalk and cheese.
And you mentioned that you get the materials partly paid for, but you don't get the labour paid for.
You've
gone through a lot of blood and cracked hands and all the rest of it.
Like, this is a new thing for us. We learned as we went. A lot of the contractors hadn't done it before. The fencing price, now that it's been going for a couple of years, has the price of the first per kilometre was $2,500. Now it's come down to about $1,600.
Okay, but you've also...
That's in labour and erecting it.
Yeah. But also farmers have had to work out how to do it, and you've lost a lot of blood doing that. You told me with your own hands just managing
the first probably 3 months of the learning process, I probably wasn't the best person to be around. It was hard. We had to create new ways of doing things. You'd try something and then that didn't work, or what we do is we adopt other people's ideas. And the best thing you can do is you hop in a motor car and go and look at someone else's fence and how they're doing it, and then you come back and that's not a bad idea.
We're running a bit low on batteries, so I can just ask one last question. If you could go something like, what would you tell people who are living in the city who feel sorry for some of these wild dogs, who get upset when they hear they're being having to be managed?
Yeah, so Keith, what would you tell people in the city who sometimes worry about dogs being hurt?
These are a wild dog. They're not the normal breed of dog that people are associated with. I'll put it back to you another way with another question. What happens when you see a child get mauled by a pit bull terrier in Brisbane, what happens?
There's a lot of outrage.
A lot of outrage. Well, we have that same outrage when you see one of these crossbreds come through and destroy our livelihood.
And so what I'd say is, not only is this productive for this area, but also a message to the Greens. Get your facts straight before you start whinging about farmers, because this is now saving the outback in Australia.